Let's unpack this. We've spent quite a bit of time exploring the really rigorous science behind this new learning platform, the Nobel Prize work, the advanced AI. But today, we're focusing on something just as foundational, maybe even more so. The element that makes sure all that tech actually, well, educates the human expertise, the pedagogy.
Exactly. If the AI is the engine and the science is the fuel, then you could say the pedagogy is the steering wheel. It's what gives direction. So what we're digging into today is that core expertise that provides the system's educational purpose, making sure the effort you put in actually leads to real, usable skill.
Right. And our mission for you, the listener, is to really get to know the background and the core philosophy of Marjo Dilstrom. She's a co-founder of the school. We want to see how her specific deep experience shaped what they call the pedagogical soul of the whole system, this architecture of mastery.
And that phrase, architecture of mastery, that's really important. It signals that learning isn't accidental. It's designed, it's structured, it's a process. We're looking at sources about her role, her background, and how these three pillars come together. The Nobel science, the adaptive AI, and this is key today, the PISA-winning Finnish education approach. She really embodies that third pillar.
Okay, so let's start with her credentials, establish her authority here. The sources paint a pretty clear picture. Marjo Dilstrom, she's a Finnish educator, active since 2003. So we're talking, what, 21, 22 years of direct hands-on experience.
And it's not just static experience either, not just one classroom for 20 years. The sources really highlight the breadth, local teaching, yes, but also global roles in teacher and school management. That global view is pretty critical if you're building something meant for learners everywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what really stands out, I think, is how they describe her expertise. The source explicitly says it's not just theoretical. It is forged in real-world classrooms. Why is that practical grounding so vital for a platform using such, high-level tech?
Well, because the goal isn't just a theory of learning, right? It's about solving actual problems that real students, real professionals face. Expertise that's forged in the classroom, it understands the messy parts. Why students get stuck, why they disengage, how motivation actually works under pressure, not just how it should work. If the platform aims to teach applied skills, its foundation has to be, well, applicable itself. Grounded.
And it seems this isn't just a job for her. It's described as a deep calling to advanced teaching worldwide. That kind of reframes the platform, doesn't it? Suggests it's maybe more than just a product, maybe a tool for scaling up what works in teaching, built by an insider.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is how her Finnish background feeds directly into that whole architecture of mastery idea.
But
The platform is, in a way, trying to digitize the core principles that made Finnish education so successful globally, especially in those PISA results.
PISA. Okay, Program for International Student Assessment. For listeners maybe not deep in education metrics, why is Finland's success there so relevant here?
Right. So PISA isn't about rote memorization. It's this rigorous test every 3 years, looking at 15-year-olds across dozens of countries. It measures if they can actually use their knowledge reading, math, science to tackle real-life challenges. Finland consistently ranked at or near the top for years. And that's because their system really prioritized deep conceptual understanding, synthesis, problem solving. Basically, the skills professionals need today, not just remembering facts.
Okay, so the platform isn't just borrowing a Finnish curriculum list. It's embedding the methodology, the how, that led to those results. So what are the specific Finnish principles she actually engineered into this system? The ones that aim for that deep learning.
Well, the sources point to 3 really critical ones she brought in. First is conceptual depth. It's about genuinely understanding concepts deeply, rather than just, skimming over vast amounts of material superficially. It's a direct pushback against that mile-wide, inch-deep issue you see in a lot of education. Quality over quantity.
That makes total sense. You want knowledge you can actually use, not just recognize.
Yeah.
This depth first. What's the second principle?
The second one is individualized pacing. Basically, your progress is tied strictly to your actual competence, your demonstrated mastery, not the calendar. If a tough concept takes you 2 weeks to really nail down, you take 2 weeks. If you get it in 2 days, great, you move on. The schedule doesn't dictate, your understanding does.
That sounds crucial, especially for, say, busy professionals squeezing learning in. That flexibility must be key.
Oh, absolutely. But maybe the most vital piece, particularly for a platform that demands real effort, high performance. That's the third principle.
Yeah.
Psychological safety.
Psychological safety. Okay, we hear that term a lot now. How does that idea work in a digital platform, especially one designed for, demanding learning tasks?
It comes down to this core idea. Making a mistake isn't failure. It's not shameful. It's framed as valuable data, essential diagnostic information the system needs to help you improve. Think about it, a lot of high achievers, the kind of people using this platform potentially, they can dread looking incompetent. Their careers are often built on, well, seeming flawless.
Right, and that fear, that reluctance to show weakness, can be a massive barrier to actually learning something new, can't it? If you hide your gaps, how can anything help you fill them?
Exactly. The sources stress that deep learning, the kind that builds real mental models, requires being okay with being wrong, often, openly. So Dillstrom's influence ensures the system's feedback is supportive, constructive, not judgmental. It creates this space where errors are just information, inputs for the AI to figure out the next best step for you. You simply can't get to mastery without that freedom to fail safely, productively.
That distinction is huge. Failure as data, not judgment. Okay, so let's link this practical classroom-forged wisdom back to the academic side. The platform uses Nobel science, sure, but her own research seems to have laid some groundwork too.
Yes, this is where her master's thesis from the University of Helsinki comes in. Apparently, it was quite pivotal. It focused specifically on two concepts that really define the platform's day-to-day mechanics: gamification and individualization.
Okay, let's quickly define those terms in this context, because gamification can mean a lot of things. We're not just talking points and badges, are we?
No, not primarily. Individualization is that personalized pacing and content tailoring we just talked about, adapting to your unique skill profile. And gamification, in her research context, seems to be much more about structuring the learning itself, the challenges, the feedback loops, how difficulty scales up to tap into intrinsic motivation. Things like feeling competent, relatedness, not just slapping on external rewards.
Got it. And this research, this thesis, it provided the definitive foundational material for the school's whole methodology. So what was the key finding, the proof point that came out of that academic work?
The central finding, according to the source, was, well, it's pretty profound. It proved that a scientifically grounded, personalized approach using this kind of gamification and individualization can unlock, quote, intuitive understanding even in unmotivated students.
Whoa, okay, let's pause on that phrase. Intuitive understanding, even in unmotivated students. That sounds like a really big deal. Why is that the crucial proof point?
Because it tackles the hardest problem in education, right? How do you achieve results when the learner doesn't start out highly driven? Most traditional methods kind of rely on the student bringing the motivation. If they're checked out, the system often fails them. Dillstrom's research showed that the design of the learning experience itself, the tailored pace, the engaging challenge structure, the safety, could actually generate engagement and lead to deep understanding. It could bypass the need for pre-existing motivation to some extent.
So the system isn't just for the already keen learner. It's engineered to potentially create that engagement, that self-belief, making deep learning possible even when maybe initial interest is low. And what does intuitive understanding mean here, like practically?
It means going beyond just remembering the rule or the formula. It's knowing when and how to apply it, maybe even adapt it to solve a problem you haven't seen before. It's that ability to use complex ideas flexibly, almost automatically. That's the mark of real mastery. Her research showed this specific methodology could get people there, providing that evidence base for the whole approach.
And this research, this background, it all feeds into her current role. The sources describe her as providing the pedagogical soul of the entire platform, even with all the AI and science.
Yeah, and that term soul is important, I think. It positions her as the ultimate human check, the guarantor of educational quality within this tech system. Her main job is making sure every single learning task, every piece of feedback the AI generates, isn't just technically sophisticated, that's the AI pillar, but that it's educationally sound. That's the pedagogy pillar she represents. She's the filter.
And you can see that expertise woven into how the platform apparently tries to motivate users, drawing on things like self-determination theory, the need for relatedness.
Precisely. The source material indicates she's one of the credible, real-world experts whose authentic voice and sort of persona are intentionally built into the AI's instructional style. This consistent expert presence helps create what they call an authoritative presence.
Almost like having a virtual mentor, someone credible guiding you.
Kind of, yeah. And this design choice fosters something behavioral scientists call a parasocial relationship.
Parasocial relationship. Okay, that sounds a bit academic. Can you break that down in this learning context? What does that mean?
Sure. Put simply, it's that one-sided connection people form with figures in media, maybe a trusted news anchor, a podcast host, even a fictional character. You feel like you know them, you trust their perspective, even though they don't know you personally. So when the platform's guidance feels like it's coming from an authentic, credible expert like Dillstrom, the learner tends to develop trust in the system itself.
And I imagine that trust makes you much more open to feedback, especially tough feedback.
That's exactly the point. That relationship makes the learner significantly more willing to accept challenging feedback, the kind you absolutely need for deep learning, especially when the system is pointing out a flaw in your thinking or telling you need to drill down on a weakness. It's easier to hear hard truths from a guide you trust rather than just a cold algorithm telling you you're wrong.
This has been really illuminating, focusing on the human element behind the tech. We've seen how Marjo Dilstrom's, 22-plus years in classrooms, her rigorous research from Helsinki, and those core Finnish education principles, how they all weave together to form the methodological backbone of this platform. It really seems like it's that synthesis that aims to ensure your effort actually pays off in real lasting skills.
Yeah, the platform's potential strength isn't just what it teaches, but fundamentally how it teaches. The method itself is designed as a system of expertise, and it's underpinned by that research showing this personalized, gamified approach could foster intuition, even in students who weren't initially motivated.